Hey guys, my name is Christina.
I'm Nick.
And we are the team here at TEKIE GEEK, and today we have a very special introductory video for you guys. We are here to talk about ransomware and how ransomware affects small businesses and government agencies, because this past week there were actually two separate bills that were proposed from New York State senators that would basically limit the ability of government agencies to use tax money to pay off these ransoms. So this is very important information. If this is something that you think you want to know a little bit more about, which you should because it is necessary information, stay tuned. Hey guys, so today, like I said, we are here to talk about ransomware. Now, this is a word that gets thrown around quite often, so I have Nick here, my very special coworker, who is here to explain what ransomware actually is and how it affects small businesses, government agencies, actually businesses of all shapes and sizes. You don't have to be a small business. So Nick, if you will, please explain what has recently been going on with the government.
So within the last week, two senators, one from Suffolk County, one from Rockland, one Republican, one Democrat, they proposed two separate bills regarding the use of taxpayer dollars when paying ransoms demanded from a government. So last year, a lot of small towns around the country were hit with ransomware. Riviera City, Florida was hit with a $600,000 ransom that they paid. Lake City, Florida paid a $460,000 ransom, and Jackson County, Georgia paid $400,000. So almost, over 1.5 million from just these three cities alone. There were a lot more in 2019 that were hit. This leads to a sticky situation because, as the government, as a citizen, you expect the government to have some sort of safeguards with their IT, and when they don't, they end up using taxpayer dollars to pay off these ransoms.
Yeah, that's crazy. I didn't know that my tax dollars were going towards ransoms. So.
Yeah. So. Cybersecurity, especially in the United States, is somewhat lacking when you compare it to the rest of the world. There's not really much of a federal overlapping, sweeping law. It's more of 50 individual states coming up with their own laws. This is just along with SHIELD, the two most recent cyber laws related to New York. So basically, both bills cover the same thing. It would be preventing government entities from using taxpayer dollars to pay off a ransom, and the goal with this is to have these sort of small cities and these other townships to maybe up their IT infrastructure a little bit. So falling on cyber insurance or falling on taxpayer dollars is not the most common use of their time. So
you mentioned cyber insurance. So I don't think a lot of people out there, especially business owners, realize that cyber insurance is even a thing. You hear about auto insurance and health insurance all the time, but cyber insurance is something that has kind of come up recently, isn't it?
Yeah, so mostly in the last 10 years, people have been focusing more on cyber insurance. There's a lot of misconceptions with cyber insurance. It's like any other insurance you have, whether it's auto, medical, they're always going to find a way to avoid paying any of their customers.
For sure.
For example, Lake City, Florida, they did have cyber insurance, but of the $460,000 in ransom, the insurance only covered $10,000. So with cyber insurance, they're going to look for anything and everything that you did wrong to try to justify it and say we shouldn't pay you.
Yeah, you weren't properly protected. You didn't go to the lengths that we needed you to go in order to insure your business. So when you got attacked, sorry, it sounds like it's your problem now, right?
Yeah. So basically, they do an audit when an incident like a ransomware incident happens. Common stuff they find with people who are not prepared, they're using old operating systems. Windows 7 was end of life a week and a half ago. If you're hit with ransomware and they see a Windows 7 computer on your network, you're out of luck.
Yep.
Using a basic router such as a Verizon router or a Comcast router.
So just like a store-bought Best Buy router is not enough to protect
that's
you.
definitely one of the worst things you can have in your business.
And I'm sure many of you out there probably just went to your local store and just bought a router. I need one. I need to get my internet up and running, but you never actually think that that's something that can actually be breached.
Yeah. And then the other thing is a business continuity device. In plain English, that's just a backup device. The reason why backup devices are so important with ransomware, if the backup device itself isn't caught in the ransom incident, the backup allows you to roll back to a previous save date and basically clear out the ransom.
Yeah.
The reason why this is getting tricky going forward is now hackers are learning that some people do have data backups, but the FBI has come out and said that whatever you do, no matter the situation, do not pay the ransom.
Of course.
Because this money goes overseas. Most ransom senders are from Russia, Iran, North Korea, China. They believe the FBI believes that this money goes to funding terrorist organizations.
Of course.
So to kind of up the ante for these cyber criminals, not only are they encrypting your data with the ransom, now they are starting to actually download the data, and they say to you, hey, if the FBI says don't pay it, if you're not going to pay it, we're going to, one, double the ransom, and two, if we're just going to release all this information out on the web.
And that goes onto the dark web.
Yes, and that's a big problem, especially if you're in medical, if you're in government, if you're a CPA, you have a lot of sensitive information, and you do not want that getting out and being made known public that you suffered a ransomware incident and you weren't prepared for it.
Yeah, because when you receive a ransomware attack, it's not like it just affects your business internally. There's actually a lot of things that you have to report. You have to go to the authorities. Your insurance company, if you have cyber insurance, is going to find out. And not only that, but the data that has been breached, if you potentially have people's credit card information, social security numbers, addresses, anything that's a liable bit of data, this information can now be broadcast throughout the entire internet. So that's obviously not something that you want to happen to you, but you also don't want to be put in that position and backed into that wall to say, now what do I do? Because unfortunately, when you're in that position, most likely it's too late to get any of that back. And also, if you're a small business, odds are you don't have a $400,000 nest egg that you can just throw at a random ransomware attack. You need to have these precautions and these things thought out, where if you're in a specific industry, if you're a chiropractor and you have people's personal data on file and you're not being properly backed up and you're not really safely protecting these people's information, not only are you at risk of potentially losing your entire business and all of your customers and all of your patients, but the whole world is going to find out, because you didn't do the right thing to put yourself in a situation where, God forbid, something were to happen. You know that you're going to be able to get that information back, and you're not going to lose money, and you're not going to lose time, or potentially your entire business just from one breach.
Yeah, especially if, say, you do own a business on Staten Island, word of mouth is huge.
Yeah.
We've heard personally of businesses who have experienced a ransomware incident and weren't prepared. They try to keep it quiet.
Of course.
But eventually everyone does find out, and the damage from ransomware is monetary, but the damage done in terms of people's opinions of you and your business, your reputation, that can really take a huge hit if you find yourself in one of these situations.
Yeah, and in terms of this bill that has recently been proposed, a lot of people are of the mindset that because it's a government thing, that these sort of attacks don't only happen to government agencies, and that, I'm fine, no one's going to want to hack my business. And apparently, because it's the statistics that we have, about 50% of all security breaches happen to small businesses. That's not just very large companies that you hear about on TV and in the news that happen, like Equifax and things like that, where everyone knows that this was breached. When you are a small business owner, you are part of a network, and when these hackers want to attack you, they are throwing a blanket on the entire network. And whoever bites and whoever downloads that email and that little link inside of it and clicks accept, you are now part of that system. So they're not going after you specifically and your business saying, I'm Joe's Auto Parts and I want to attack this guy and take his information. If you happen to be Joe's Auto Parts and you click that email, you are part of the problem now. And unfortunately, when you're in that situation, it's too late to get that information back. So don't think that it's never going to happen to you and you're safe just because you're a small business. You are just as likely to get hit as these large government agencies and multi-billion-dollar companies. Unfortunately, this is the world we live in these days. So you have to have these measures taken ahead of time so that you don't have to be put in this situation of wondering, now what do I do? So
yeah, especially on our end, is say if you were to open an email and you were to get all of your files encrypted and you don't have data backups, it becomes very problematic for us as tech people. We try to, we want to do our best to try to recover your data. But if you don't have data backups and it's a new strain of ransomware, the decryption key is not out, it's not public knowledge, there really is nothing much for us on our end to do to help you.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's a heartbreaking situation to have to tell a business owner, I'm sorry, but it's too late. Like, that's not words anyone wants to hear in any situation, but when your entire business could potentially be on the line, you certainly don't want to hear it then, right?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, so thank you for taking a couple minutes to learn about ransomware and about this new bill in New York State. I really, really hope that this is something that basically lays the precedent for every other state in America to kind of latch on to this same idea, because tax dollars, whether that be in New York or nationally, should never be paid for illegal activity. We have to put a stop to this.
I will say there is also a wrong way for the government to go about this. I believe it was today or yesterday, the Maryland state government came out and said they will criminalize the possession of ransomware. And why is that a problem?
That is a problem.
Well, first of all, if you do have ransomware, you're usually not doing it for, good purposes.
Yeah.
And second of all, like I said before, most of the origins of these ransomware strains are from overseas. So,
how are you going to find them and arrest them, right?
So Baltimore, in 2018, they spent over $18 million recovering from a ransomware incident. They did have backups in place, but the whole process of, losing certain utilities and trying to get everything back and running cost the taxpayers $18 million.
And that includes downtime and...
Yes, that includes downtime, resupplying computers, certain government agencies weren't functional for many months after the attack.
That's crazy.
I believe some people had to pay their water bills in person. They had to pay parking tickets and police tickets in person.
Wow.
So the reason why this Maryland law is kind of strange, it's because if you do have possession of ransomware, you will face 10 years in prison. But who does this law really apply to? How many hackers are in Maryland?
Yeah.
And they're also targeting Maryland businesses.
Yeah.
So
it's almost impossible to find the information out. As it is, how hackers work is anonymously, and it's not like it's necessarily they're going to be knocking down someone's door, arresting them when they're out in Russia and God knows where and what network and IP they're on. So there's a lot that goes into even worry about yourself when you're put in this situation. Don't worry about how the hacker is going to be caught, because I guarantee you, if you are the victim of a cyber attack, you're not the only one. Like we said, you're a part of a network. So at this point, it's really just, I think of most importance, just what am I going to do for tomorrow to really secure my business and secure the information that I have. Because if you're not backing up your systems, if you're not protecting this very private data, you don't want to put everything on the line because you thought that you were going to be okay. Because you may be okay, but like I said, about 50% of cyber attacks happen to small businesses. So don't be the victim of, I wish I would have done something sooner, because we are here for that.
Soon you won't have the choice. Well, I guess that's a topic for another video, but New York Shield is becoming effective March 2020. So we've been discussing it for a few months about the requirements that it has. Just a little snippet, it requires you to have within your budget some reasonable level of safeguards to your business IT. So eventually any New York business or any business that owns the information of a New York resident will have to follow the Shield law.
That's interesting. So if you have the information and your business is out in Arizona, but you have information about a New York State resident, you fall under the New York Shield Act. So that's something that, we can get into, we can discuss more in a future video. For sure.
But yeah, that's definitely something to keep aware of, that, you really have to, especially with each state creating their own cybersecurity laws, and not so much a federal law. There's going to be a lot of, unless there's a real standardization going forward, it's going to be a lot of chaos, especially on the tech side.
All right, guys, so make sure you stay tuned here on the Techie Geeks channel. Make sure you subscribe, so even if you're not in New York and you happen to be elsewhere within the country, you can stay updated on the cybersecurity and cyber criminal laws that are happening from state to state. Make sure you give us a thumbs up for this video, guys. We are putting a lot of effort into our content moving forward, and we have a lot planned for you, so we're very excited. Again, my name is Christina, this is Nick, and we are the geeks here at Techie Geek. So we will talk to you guys in the next video. Stay tuned. Bye.
Take care.